Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is Reservations, and I'm Rain Whalen.
And I'm Nigel Windberry.
Once again, to go with the theme.
It's very British, yeah, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, like I said last week, this movie has like every British actor that you could think of in it. Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Now, before we jump into everything, just a quick couple things. Yes, we're doing this over Riverside again because
It's cold.
It's that time of year where the roads are frozen.
It's cold, so.
Yeah. It's cold and the roads are frozen. So, I mean, probably you would have been fine to drive over now, but to play it safe, it's better if we do it like this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got a text from Haley. I told her, the audience might think, Zach will think this is funny. Audience, who am I? I told her that we're trying to throw her friend a party next year for her birthday, and she's going to turn 30, and so we're trying to think of themes. And I said, let's do 13 going on 30. You know, the movie's dope. And
Yeah.
she said no, and I said I was going to walk into traffic, and she said, have fun. So, that she goes, have fun, buddy. That's exactly what it says.
That's so good. Oh, my Leota.
I know.
But of course, you know, if there's anyone besides Zach listening, you know, they won't realize. I think they'll not realize that we make a lot of jokes like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get rid of myself.
Yeah, I'm
gonna pass away.
Yeah, I'm gonna go pass away then. If I can't have my 13 going on 30, if I can't be Mark Ruffalo, it doesn't matter.
If I can't get to be Mark Ruffalo, Jennifer Gardner's long lost love, then
13 going on 30, I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah. I've been rewatching Scrubs. I think I told you that, and I got to the episode where Turk and Carla are trying to have a baby, and their doctor was all like, you know, is there a lot of stress in the relationship? And Carla's like, yeah, like if we can't get pregnant tonight, I'm just gonna kill myself. And Turk's like, not helping. That show's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
But fuck the last season. Fuck the ninth season, dude. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am gonna watch Bill Lawrence's new show, Shrinking, but yeah, fuck that last.
Is that
show.
Bill Lawrence?
Fuck the last.
That's cool.
Yeah, because Krista, his wife, is in it.
I did know that, and I think I may have even thought, I wonder if it. Just joking to myself, I wonder if it's Bill Lawrence.
Yeah, it's Bill Lawrence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Poor thing, she can't get a job with Adam, I guess.
Although she's not in Ted Lasso.
He had nothing to do with the Drew Carey show, right?
Yeah, but she's not in Ted Lasso, though.
That's true.
But anyway, well, welcome back, everyone. It's also that time of year where we are now in the end of season series. And in my opinion, I feel like you and I have the most fun during the end of season series.
I think so.
Yeah. So this time it is my pick because I started the season, so now I get to be the one to close it out, and we are doing Terry Gilliam's Dystopic trilogy. Now, I learned something a little interesting since we closed off on our Phantom Carriage episode. Technically, this movie is a part of two separate trilogies that Terry has yet to technically officially confirm.
Yeah.
But we're going to focus on the dystopic one just because that's the one I'm ready for. Even though...
Brazil fits in two of those, which is interesting. And rightfully so, fits in both. Fits with Time Bandits and Munchausen.
Mm-hmm.
And then it also fits with 12 Monkeys and Zero Theorem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and if you didn't know, if you forgot, we're talking about Brazil. Yeah, so after we finished that episode and I was editing it just to make sure that You know, because I was worried that I didn't say the right word that he calls the trilogy. He calls it the dystopic trilogy. That's when I was like, wait a minute. 2 different trilogies are coming up. Mm-hmm. That's a little... And that, again, he's never officially said yes or no to either of them, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
But... Oh, and...
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, we have done a Terry Gilliam movie. We did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I forgot about that.
Because that's all the way in season 1, man. That's a
long time ago.
That was almost 4 years ago, so...
Wow, look at us go.
I know. What were you going to say, buddy?
I was just going to say that he's an eccentric guy, so, I mean, he probably said it, forgot he said it. I don't know. I was...
Probably.
Like I said, I was watching that Battle for Brazil documentary on the Criterion release, and he'd be hard to talk to at a dinner party, I think. He's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I was watching... I think it was the supplements on the Criterion release of Fear and Loathing, and it had an updated interview with him, and yeah, he was just sort of like, I'm like, dude, can you get one thought straight first? Yeah. But I wanted to mention this because I had this revelation while I was rewatching the movie last night. And then, as I mentioned to you off mic, I watched Baron Munchausen today for the first time ever.
Which I've not seen.
Terry Gilliam is to me what David Lynch is to you. So even though we both love David Lynch, but you've openly said on the podcast that you are a Lynch disciple, I guess I would say I'm a Terry Gilliam disciple because... seeing Monty Python and the Holy Grail just kind of set this all in motion. Yeah. And I
think, I think I would die for David Lynch for sure. I mean, that's not a big deal. Yeah.
Now, would you die for him or kill for him?
Both. That's fine. Either way, like I'm not like just whatever he needs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it's fine.
But
and this is I'm saying like I'm a disciple, of David Lynch, and this is me like just in terms of I've seen the majority of his stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I haven't read any of the books, any of the extensions of the Twin Peaks universe. I haven't read any of like the Laura Palmer dossier files or whatever. I don't understand all of it. It's just I love it,
Yeah.
I guess that's Gilliam for you, I guess.
Yeah, man. There's just something about his films, and we're definitely going to get into it with this end of season series. But yeah, there's something just like you've said about Lynch, man. There's just something about it, and I guess that is a good kind of starting point. Now, like I mentioned last week, I've seen Brazil. So I guess we can go off our first impressions for the first time we ever saw the movie. Do you happen to remember when the first time was you ever saw the movie?
Yeah, I think so. But unfortunately for my story is I didn't finish it the first time I watched it.
So. Really?
No. I got bogged down in the beginning of the third act. It gets a little, not slow, or maybe it's the end of the second act. I don't know. I just get, just sort of like, well, what time is it and how long have I been watching this? Well, not that I didn't like it. Just I had other stuff to do.
Well, and I will say, it tends to drag.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, my first impression, the first time I ever saw it, like, I was like, ooh. Exactly what you were thinking. Like, how long have I been watching this for? But I didn't hate it. It's just, I was like, it is a long movie. And rewatching it last night, I was like, okay. No, like, there's a reason it's almost 2.5 hours long.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So Jeremy... would you like to tell everyone that little synopsis?
No,
to get us
you're
started.
gonna do it this time.
I'm gonna do it. Okay.
Yeah,
All
you're
right,
gonna
so...
do it. It's your 3. So,
Okay.
and
All
I'll
right,
miss something
so...
for sure. I'll miss something if I do it. So.
All right. I'll try to make this short and concise. That way we can focus on everything else. All right. So Brazil is a 1985 dystopian black comedy, taking place in an unnamed world, which, quite frankly, we didn't need, but we'll get to that later. We are following a low-level bureaucrat named Sam Lowry, played by the always amazing Jonathan Pryce. He is content with his job because in this dystopian reality, there's no big brother. It is a totalitarian government, but it's more so paperwork for paperwork for paperwork for paperwork. So there's no big brother. There's no one controlling anything. It's just order is the paperwork. And Sam is content with his records job, but he's having all of these fantastical dreams about escaping. Oh God, just hit my mic. Escaping and flying away and being free. And then one day he sees a woman who resembles a woman he's been dreaming about, and now his quest is, who is this woman? How can I find her? And how can I be with her? And I'm trying to find where to go next, because I'm in a good flow, but I'm trying to figure out where to go next. I mean, Sam does eventually get to meet her. Her name is Jill. And she's at first a little kind of hesitant with him because she doesn't know if she can trust him or not, because he's a part of the system. But it's one of those situations where things start to open up for Sam, where he's realizing, oh, this system is actually broken, that it's that I've been implicated in the system. Oh, and I forgot to mention, but of course we'll get into it here in a second, is this movie all kicks off with a simple error. Simple error is made, the wrong man is arrested, and that's what kind of kicks this movie, and Sam is in the middle of it all. Yeah. And then Sam falsifies some records to get the heat off of Jill, but he in turn is captured and tortured. But we think he gets away. Spoiler alert, he doesn't. And the last 10 minutes of the movie is all in Sam's head. But that's Brazil.
Good job.
Thank you. I felt pretty good about that. I didn't want to drone on for too long, because I know we were going to get into a lot of stuff. So, so Jeremy, do you want to start with the actual world rather than starting with Sam? Let's start with the world. Gillian and all his co-writers, because he had like multiple co-writers on this movie. It's interesting that they made sort of like a George Orwell's 1985 or 1984 world unintentionally, because apparently none of them read the book, none of them saw the movie.
Well, he said that, or someone, I thought it was Gillian, had referenced that the original title of the film was 1984 and a half, which is a reference to 1984 and 8.5. Sort of blending the two ideas together, this sort of the Big Brother dystopian aspect of 1984 and the surrealist aspect of 8.5, and then, which is sort of what this is.
That would have been cool.
I like that you didn't mistakenly say a dystopian future, because that's not what this is. This isn't a future movie. This is, even in the beginning, it says somewhere in the 20th century. So we're not talking future, we're not talking past. This is just an alternate dystopian reality. So good job on that.
Thank you.
I love, and I mentioned this last week, I believe, I love Gilliam's aesthetic. I love the electric typewriters and the magnifying glasses in front of the screens and the tubes and the vents and, you know, this sort of alternate take on up and coming and state of the art technology is just repurposing old technology, you know, which I really, really like. That's probably my favorite part about this movie is just how it looks in the world that it's in.
Yeah. In that 1 hour video I watched, which hopefully Future Rain will include that video somewhere, because I definitely think everyone should check it out. This guy does a retrospective of specifically the Criterion release, like he talks about the box art and stuff like that. But yeah, he goes into depth about the typewriters and, well, the quote unquote computers and you know, and that when I remember when I first saw the movie, I thought that it was supposed to be the future, and then rewatching it, I was like, oh no, this isn't supposed to be the future. It's just supposed to be a time and a place,
right?
And this is just how it looks. And yeah, I love the big magnifying glasses, especially when we get that really cool pan from behind it and we see Sam's face blown up on it, so we can kind of see the other end of it. Yeah, the magnifying glasses, it makes me laugh every time. But that's because apparently Terry Gilliam specifically wanted to use the smallest monitors he could find. Yeah,
and they're so tiny.
That way they...
Yeah. Because in the beginning of the film, before that horrible bureaucratic mistake is made, changing Tuttle to Buttle, is he's watching TV on that screen, and it's, you know, it's smaller than your phone. You know what I mean? Like, it's so small, and it's black and white, and it's whatever. I don't know, very... I don't know what the kids call it. It's not steampunk, it's something else. Anyway. But...
I don't know what it would be.
Nerds, figure it out. I don't know. But it's very, you know, this sort of weird take on that technology. And I like that, you know, the whole movie just gets kicked off with just a bureaucratic mistake, right? Which is showing the flaws of what controls this world or this, you know, this place that they're in, and how easy it is to make a mistake and how easily flawed it can be.
Yeah. And
but
I was just saying, and how just used to it these people are.
Well, yeah, it's their world, right?
Yeah.
It's part of what makes surrealism so great is people aren't acknowledging the strangeness, right? It's strange to you and me, of course. And I love, you know, like you were saying, that everything is just paperwork on top of paperwork, right? And I love that in that beginning when they arrest Buttle, and the upstairs neighbor who, you know, is our love interest, Jill. They go, "Ma'am, we don't make mistakes," and then they put the thing in for the hole, and it's too small. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and you know, another thing about this world too is, you know, none of these systems have any accountability, because with that scene in particular, like, what, they switched to metric and didn't tell us again.
Yep.
Instead of acknowledging the fact, like, yeah, no, we did fuck up.
Like, well,
it's someone else's fault.
And it always is throughout the whole movie. It's like that, right? Like, who is responsible for this mishap with the names, right? It's always a different department, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's summed up perfectly with Jack Lint, Michael Palin's character, who is he's hysterical in Gilliam's second movie, Jabberwocky, which I think is behind my head somewhere.
It should be behind there.
Yeah, it's right there.
Boom.
Right
there
it is. Wait. There we go. Right there.
You got it.
Michael Palin's hilarious, but you know, he says when Sam tells him, all I know is you got the wrong man. And he's like, no, I got the right man. Information retrieval got the wrong man. I accepted him on good faith as the right man.
Right.
And there's no accountability. Like, he's like, no, like, they said he was the right man. It wasn't my fault.
And I like that he even acknowledges that it was the wrong man, but he got the correct paperwork, meaning that I have the paperwork for the guy I was supposed to have. So, and on there it had nothing about a heart condition. So I don't know, you know what I mean? So that's how that is. And, whatever. I like that he acknowledged that, how just deep they get into the bureaucracy. Anyway, I'm going to be saying that word a lot, by the way. So get a count.
Oh, yeah.
And even Ian Holm, when he goes, when Sam says, well, at least it's not our fault. He goes, is it not? He gets really excited. He goes, it's not our fault?
Yeah.
He goes, no. He goes, oh, okay, good.
Yeah. Ian Holm, his boss, Bilbo Baggins, to anyone else who doesn't know who that is. And he makes
Alien. Don't take him away from Alien. He's an alien.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's an alien. Yeah. I would say it was a different android in Aliens.
Yeah, because they rip him apart in the first one. So.
Yeah. But yeah, no. Even even in your day-to-day life, like when Sam calls for central repair, which we were right, Bob Hoskins. He tells him, do you have a 27B/6 or something like that?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I don't write that shit down. That's crazy.
But he asked for that form, and it like freaks him out that he's asking for it.
Right.
I couldn't imagine living in a world where we had to have paperwork for paperwork.
It's just documentation. You know what I mean? Just constant documentation, which is indicated in that dream sequence where Harry Tuttle gets covered in documentation and then disappears, right? At the end of the film.
Yeah.
Where it's just it's a visual representation of just the documentation, the paperwork, all the stuff that has to go into doing anything, right?
You know what it makes me think of a lot, dude? And I think you're going to hate this comparison, but honestly, it's the best comparison. Well, it makes me think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The okay. I can't think of that race of aliens. In the movie, I know you hated the movie. They have paperwork on top of paperwork, and the guide itself says they wouldn't even lift a finger to save their mother unless they had this paperwork and this film. And then it was filed in triplicate.
Now, that's a great example, and good job. I don't remember that.
Okay, good.
In the movie. So here's the deal. My dad and I saw this movie one time. Right? And I even mentioned it to him later in life. It could have been as early as a year ago. I said, if we were to rewatch that movie, I bet you we'd like it. Or at least we wouldn't hate it as much. And he said, yeah, but we can't. It's been too long. We can never watch it because we've just spewed so much hate out of our mouths.
Love the Hitchhiker's Guide, man.
I'll never know. I will never know.
Granted, it's not the best adaptation I've ever seen, but it's still a lot of fun. Most Def, Sam Rockwell, Martin Freeman, Zooey Deschanel.
Is Alan Rickman? Is he the robot?
Yes, he's the robot.
R.I.P. I remember that. I remember him making me laugh because he was just so depressed, and that made me laugh. But
yeah.
That was the only thing I guess that we liked about it.
Yeah.
But I'll never know. I bet you I'd like it if I saw it again.
Just do it for me.
I can't. I can't.
As a birthday gift. As a birthday gift for me. Rewatch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, dude. If Dad ever found out, dude, I'd be so boned. If he ever found out, I'd be busted, bro.
Would it make him any less proud of you than he already is?
Oh man, no. But you know what? Like Dennis in It's Always Sunny, maybe he could go lower. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we could probably get more disappointed in me, and I just don't know. I haven't reached there yet. You know what I mean? Like, there's always levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, point being, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. That's
and then something else that reminded me of, and now I see it now that we've done this movie. Another example of no accountability in this universe is Jill being passed around to department. Made me think of Ikuru.
Yes. Cool. Yeah.
I'm sure that was unintentional. But you know, Jill's trying to help the Buttles since he was wrongfully arrested. And the guy's like, no, you got to go to this department. She's like, no, that department sent me here. And he was like, well, do you have this form? And has it been stamped? And she's like, well, I have that form, but no, I wasn't aware it had to be stamped. And he was like, yeah, you have to get it stamped at the department and it's just ways of, and I'm pretty sure you said it in our Ikuru episode, it's just ways of passing off the accountability.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just in case something goes wrong. You never know. And you know, and the other thing about this world too is it definitely favors the rich. Yeah. As we see with Sam's mom having not only so much pull in the Ministry of Information to try to get Sam a promotion, but the fact that, you know, a bomb goes off in the middle of their dinner and she's just like, whatever, and keeps eating. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We forgot to mention, Zach, there's intermittent terrorist bombings throughout the movie. Yeah, buddy. Sorry about that. He is our new Joel. He is our new Schumacher. We should put him on the Let's do it. I need to update the website anyway. Okay, so I think before I saw the movie, for years, I guarantee you, I've seen a still image of our introduction to Linda Lowry. Right, with her Ida Lowry, Ida, with the cheeks, right, with the and it's a good eye catcher. I mean, it's a good image to use if you're not familiar with the film, because you're like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, you know, yeah. I'm sure I've seen that still too. I feel like I saw it somewhere. I think probably when Not Hastings was a Hastings, I want to say I feel like I saw that still somewhere there. And, probably. And was like, or at Hollywood Video, which is where I used to go to rent movies. Yeah. But yeah, same as you. I was like, what the hell is this? Why is... I'm sure I've seen it. Somewhere. You know, which, you know, is such, oddly enough, an iconic image from this movie. Yeah, it is. Or Jack Lent wearing the the baby mask. The baby mask. Yeah. That's also a very popular image because it's that long. It's such a striking image of that long walkway. You know, you'll see it again a little bit. Spoilers. Next week. But you know that imagery is really striking. Yeah. Okay, so. I feel like we've sufficiently talked about the world and how there's zero accountability, paperwork for paperwork. I mean, let's talk about. I mean, let's just talk about Sam. Sure. Because I love Jonathan Pryce so much. I do too. He's in Baron Munchausen. Is he? Yeah, he plays yet again an elected official, another bureaucrat. He's
but
good
his
at
he really is. But his character made me in Munchausen. It made me think of his character in The Brothers Grimm.
I didn't see that.
That's also a Gillian movie, right?
I don't think that's true, but I haven't seen that movie. If those of you who are still unfamiliar with Jonathan Pryce, I'm sure if you were our age, you recognized his face from Pirates of the Caribbean. Or if you're cool, is it?
Yeah, Brothers Grimm is a Gillian movie. Yeah,
didn't know that. Or if you're cool and like cool things, he is in Taboo. The Tom and Chips Hardy. Yeah.
I remember watching Taboo. I didn't know he was in it. I heard it was a Tom Hardy show on FX. I was like, sold. I don't need to know anything about this movie.
All I would have said was, yeah, Tom Hardy, sold. I don't give a shit.
And when he comes on screen and he says that first line, that line, it was the first time I've ever heard him swear too.
He swears so much in that show.
I know. Like, what fucking rumor? I was like, oh, Jonathan Pryce.
Shit. Yeah. But here, it's such a different character. I mean, he's so talented, but here I like that he plays the line of he's content, yet would prefer, just to be free, right? To be some sort of not only free, but some sort of hero-like figure that will come in and save the day, right? Save us from all of this. And by the way, some of the best imagery in the film are his dream sequences.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And some of the scariest shit ever is in also those dream sequences. With those baby mats, man, I can't stand that shit. It's scary.
Dude, I in that video, again, hopefully Future Rain has posted a link or a thing anywhere. They talk about how apparently Gilliam's original idea was to have those dream sequences run the length of the actual movie. Wow. So the movie was going to be, I think they were estimating like twice its runtime. Until someone finally was like, no, don't do that.
That's crazy.
Don't do that. Which, truth be told, I probably would have loved the movie even more. But yeah,
if he had that idea now, it would be perfectly fine because they would just split it up episodically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we do now. If someone has an idea like that's like, I don't know, if you put it in a movie, it'd be 5 hours. They're like, well, we can split that up at least into 3 parts. Put it on fucking Netflix or Hulu or something. Which, by the way, dude, not every idea has to be a series. I know we've talked about this before, but whatever. I don't want to get on a tangent. So he's content, yet wants to be this hero-like figure, right? Mm-hmm. And then finds a chance to do so, right? With righting this wrong and helping the damsel in distress, which is what his fantasies are like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he even takes that promotion is to get more information on this woman, right?
Right.
Which, by the way, this is a situation where Clark Kent wearing glasses and people don't realize he's Superman is legit, because her with long hair, I thought it was a different actress. So, so it's completely believable.
Now you see how it all makes difference.
Of course,
you can take.
Clark Kent wearing glasses, and they're like, "Well, how you doing, Clark? You and Superman aren't in the same room together. That's weird." But with her, with Jill, with the long hair, it's crazy. It's like a different person. So
yeah. But yeah, I do find that so fascinating that our hero is content with where he's at, but dreams of being free and being, just he doesn't want to have to deal with it. But since he knows,
he's immediately attracted to something out of the ordinary, which is when Harry comes into his house to fix his air conditioning. He's doing it basically like guerrilla style, like I was never here, you know. And
Yeah.
as soon as Bob Hoskins and that other guy come in, he lies, right, and to get him out of there. He lies and he tricks him and he gets him out of there. Instead of, if he were a real bureaucrat, if he were a true citizen, an upstanding citizen, he would have turned in Harry, right? He would have turned him in. He would have been like, there's this guy here, he's doing this. But immediately he was like, whoa, this guy's interesting, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
I think
different.
which is a great segue into Tuttle, because I feel like to Sam, Tuttle represents everything that he has been dreaming about, you know, being free. Because Tuttle, you know, and that's why he's labeled a terrorist, is because he does freelance, and there is no paperwork, and in this reality, freelance means terrorist. Yeah, he's not doing the paperwork, and in my opinion, one of the, if not the funniest roles of Robert De Niro. Because he's only in it, I think someone estimated like grand total like 8 minutes. But
right.
he just, you can tell he's having so much fun, just kind of showing up, shaking things up, and then he fucks off. Like, it's...
Yeah, I mean, De Niro, he enjoyed this, or was passionate about this so much that to fight for the original cut of the movie, he went on talk shows with
Really?
Terry Gilliam, and he hates doing those. And Terry joked, he said that, you know, he said about 3 or 4 words. You know, some got 4 out of him, and that's pretty good. He was pretty chatty in those things. But it was the only way Gilliam could get on these things, is if he had someone really famous with him, and De Niro agreed to do it just so he can fight the system and get his cut out there.
Well, and you know, and what also is so interesting is De Niro originally auditioned for Jack Lynch's character, Michael Palin's character.
Yeah.
But Terry, having a friendship with Michael, had already promised him that role, but Robert apparently was like, well, I'd love to be a part of this. You know, any role you have, I'll take. And that's when they're like, well, here, you can be. And it, truth be told, it works so well. He and Jonathan Pryce work off so well with each other. It's insane.
And it's a great role. I mean, it's small, but it's fun. You know, I mean, the Jack Lynch character is just as small, I think. It's just, his character is more integral to what makes the movie so dark, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
And I could see why that's more appealing, right? I mean, the part is just as small, but more significant with the turn of the film and how the movie ends, really. Which is, I understand why that's more interesting, you know. But still, Harry Tuttle, super fun. I love that.
Yeah, so do I, man. Especially when he he mixes up the sewage and the air conditioning vents, and Bob Hoskins and the other guy's suit fills with sewage, and he's just standing there smoking his cigar, just like, yeah, okay, and like letting Sam watch as their like suits explode. Yeah, dude, it's Tuttle. Yeah, Tuttle definitely represents to Sam, I think, everything that Sam wants, which is like what we've been saying, freedom, and to be not a part of this system anymore. He's not a part of this system. Okay. I want to really talk about the end of the movie, because
hey, we're just going right into it.
I mean, unless there's something you want to talk about first.
I mean, we could. do you want to mention? Well, let's see. We could talk about Jill a little bit because Jill is like Tuttle. She pushes back, right? She bucks the system, which is why I think number one, why Sam is so attracted to her in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And then he also sees her as like a way out of this, right?
Yeah.
And again, to fulfill the fantasy of helping a damsel in distress, right? That's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and, and like Tuttle, the reason why she's labeled a terrorist is because, yeah, she's pushing back. She's saying that, well, you arrested the wrong man, which is the truth.
Yeah.
But as we've established, and this world has established, there's no accountability. Mm-hmm. So if you're telling us that we arrested the wrong guy, but we know we didn't, well, then you're a terrorist.
Well, and what's really interesting about the accountability thing is that Sam goes to Buttle's house to deliver the check as almost an admission of guilt, right? He goes, well, we thought we'd bring the check in person just so there's no more, mistakes or no more waiting, right?
Right.
It's almost an admission of guilt. I feel like he feels like the system, obviously the system really failed this family, right, in a big way. And he feels bad about that because because he's already just feeling sort of not bad, but he's feeling uneasy about being in this system, right? About being a part of it as well, not just living in the society, but being a part of it in general.
Well, yeah, and what's interesting too is, everything comes back to sort of haunt Sam, delivering the check. The fact that the personal vehicle he checked out gets destroyed. And so it is kind of interesting that the movie's showing us that he's content, but he yearns to be free of all this. And in the process of trying to keep his head down and then trying to find Jill, he unravels his own kind of undoing, especially when he breaks into Mr. Helpman's office to declare Jill as dead. That way he can remove the target off of her back.
Yeah.
And Ian Holm doesn't help either. Like Ian Holm kind of fucks him because he's so like, oh, well, what am I gonna do without you, Sam?
Right. Yeah.
Throw you under the bus, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can.
Okay. So the end of the movie. So Sam gets captured, because of pretty much everything that I just mentioned comes back to haunt him. The delivering of the check, the fact that he never filed any paperwork for the personal vehicle he checked out that got destroyed, falsifying Jill's records. All this comes back to haunt him. And it's not exactly clear what they really want out of Sam. I guess maybe for him to tell them where Tuttle is, but that's not something he even knows.
Right.
I guess.
And again, it's just, I think it's just run-of-the-mill punishment, right? Because he has broken so many rules, right? That, and he's harboring someone labeled a terrorist, right? He has known associations with, Tuttle and whatever. So I think that's pretty much and that's all it takes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the original Tuttle that they were supposed to capture, I think when they were reading off the stuff, it wasn't even that bad, If I remember correctly, I might be missing something or misremembering when they were reading off the reasons for his abduction in the very beginning, but it didn't seem all that egregious, right? Like, it definitely wasn't murder, you know, or anything like that, which is interesting.
But yeah, so I love how, and we've talked about movies that have done this, where, you know, the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie, you get a ton of information thrown at you just to have the rug pulled out from underneath you.
Yes.
You know? So,
speaking of Lynch, I mean, that's what Mulholland Drive is.
yeah.
So.
Yeah. Shout out to our Mulholland Drive episode.
God, I love Mulholland Drive.
I know,
so
dude.
much.
I've got Inland Empire on my wish list.
Me too.
Because I think that's the only one I need. Well, besides Wild at Heart and A Straight Story. Anyway, yeah. So we think Sam is rescued by Tuttle and his little band of resistance fighters.
His terrorist organization. Go ahead.
Yeah, his terrorist organization. But that's when where we got the really cool, surreal scene of Tuttle being covered in all the paperwork, and then when Sam's trying to help him, he just disappears. And so,
should have been an indication
that's
right
our
there. But...
yeah, that's our first clue as to, like, hey, something's not right here. And then, you know, then Sam falls through a coffin.
Yeah, at his mom's funeral, which is just like a funeral of her old parts.
It's his mom's friend's funeral.
Oh, is that right?
Because his mom's friend, you know, she's getting,
that's right.
like,
She keeps getting worse and worse because
yeah, because her doctor is using, like, acid or something to, like, thin her face down. As where Slughorn, I can't think of that actor's name. I just know him as Professor Slughorn from Harry Potter. He's an actual plastic surgeon using a knife, you know.
Right.
But yeah,
there's that split moment where his mom turns into Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which could be a little bit of maybe a Freudian thing. Maybe. But then, like, you know, and then Sam, you know, falls through her his mom's friend's coffin, and then he ends up in his dream nightmare. And then goes through a back door and is in the house that Jill's transporting. So Jill got away, what we think. And then they're living happily ever after in the countryside. Oops, no, not really.
I really liked that sort of, that melding of dream and reality with them just coming into frame from the sides.
Yeah.
To look at him, right? Mm-hmm. And of course it's this sunny, nice, you know, picturesque background, and then they sort of just lean in,
like,
you know, as if to say, no, you know, nice try. And I assume they lobotomized him is what it is, because they had that tool. I didn't see any blood or anything, so I'm still not sure. Or if he just broke down, right, and is just gone.
I think that's what it's implied. So, yeah, I think it's implied that Sam couldn't handle the torture and mentally broke and essentially went insane. But there's a silver lining to that, because now he can be free.
Right. The only way he can be free. Now, that's a very nice way to look at it, Rain. It's not how most people look at it.
Well, because, again, I'm going to reference that video again. You know, Terry Gilliam even says that that's a happy ending for Sam. Because he is free now. Yes, he's insane, but he is... He gets to live in this fantasy...
Right.
For the rest of his life now. That he's happy with Jill in the countryside. Free from all the paperwork, all the bureaucracy. Everything.
I agree with that in a way. I think the more pessimistic way of looking at it is the system won. The system is still going. The system is still rightfully in place, right? Sam did nothing. to topple this tower,
Yeah. I mean that's true. That's true too. As Mr. Helpman says at the beginning of the movie in that interview, and then when he visits Sam, people have to play the game because he sees their world as a game. You have to play it if you want to win, and if you don't want to play it, then you lose.
I like his character because he was sort of like Old Man Potter in It's a Wonderful Life because he's in a wheelchair. Or whatever. That's what it reminded me of, right?
Yeah.
In that bizarre scene of him visiting Sam in prison and he's dressed like Santa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because this is happening around Christmas. We forgot to mention.
Yeah. Which this movie's technically a Christmas movie. So.
But yeah, and it. Yeah, so I mean, I think both are true. The system won, but Sam gets to be free from it.
Yeah. I guess this is a good transition into, the fight for this cut of Brazil, which we get to see now, which American audiences wouldn't have gotten to see back then, right?
Right.
1985. It is all because of, Sid Sheinberg.
Oh, yeah.
I had to find his name real quick. He's the reason why, they basically just, little by little, just took over complete control over Brazil. Much to Gilliam's chagrin, he didn't want, that's probably not the right phrasing, but he, obviously, Gillian wanted the movie that
he wanted.
That was like 2 hours and 20 minutes. Like that's what he wanted, right? Mm-hmm. And they didn't want the movie to exceed like 205 or something silly. Like it shouldn't even matter, right?
Right.
Universal didn't. And they fought over back and forth. They tried this Love Conquers All cut, which is now what it's called, where it ends with them on the farm and living happily ever after, escaped from this place. And it just doesn't work. It's just not as good. And you're given all of this information and all of this, all of these indications that he's dreaming and all of that, and it just goes nowhere, right? It doesn't make any sense. They, of course, thought that American audiences won't get it anyway, so might as well just give it a happy ending, which is silly. Yeah.
Which is interesting because American audiences love it. It is a cult classic, and that's, I feel like that's Gilliam's niche. I would say most of his films are cult classics. Especially my favorite of his, Fear and Loathing, is 100% a cult classic film. And something interesting also that I learned after watching Baron Munchausen, that movie was a commercial failure. It only, of its I think 30 million budget, it only made $8 million. Wow. But critics loved it. And
I don't think this one did well either, but as soon as he got to screen his cut of the movie for critics, I mean, they were saying it was the best film of the year. Like, it was like, and they were writing about it, and they were, it was a huge success with critics, and it was getting rave reviews after he finally got to show them the cut, and it was a huge success for him in that regard. And what helped the box office success, it actually was a box office success, I'm just not remembering, and what helped was the fact that he had to go on TV and be like, hey, Sheinberg, when are you going to release my movie?
Yeah.
Or he even put an ad in the paper that looked like an obituary that just said, Sid Sheinberg, when are you going to release My Brazil? And then he signed it at the bottom, and it went out in the newspapers and stuff. I mean, it was sort of, it became
amazing.
Public knowledge that he was fighting against the system, and of course mirroring Sam's struggles, right? Which I unintentional, but is still there.
Well, again, that video that guy, that's what that guy mentions, is that, you know, the film reflects Terry a lot. You know, who he was as a person. You know, going through everything he was trying to do to get, you know, recognized and, you know, fight against the system and do things his way.
Yeah.
You know, so of course it would make sense that I think it's his fourth movie, because it was Holy Grail, Jabberwocky, Time Bandits. So I think this was his fourth movie.
All you would have to do is, you know, if I were an executive, all you have to do is say, "Oh, I'm in Monty Python," and it's like, "Oh,
that was you?
Do you want a bag of money? Like, I don't know, go make whatever you want." You know.
Fifth movie. I'm sorry, I forgot about Life of Brian, or The Meaning of Life.
Oh, that's right.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, I mean the movie's great, and it's just so crazy that it's one of those movies that we may have never gotten, you know.
Yeah, you know, it's also, I like, it can go back and forth because, as we've seen recently, publicized drama within the production can be bad also, because we've seen that with Don't Worry Darling, which of course isn't that great of a story anyway, but I think it made it 10 times worse that you had all of this trouble. Another example of it working, I think, in its favor would be Apocalypse Now.
Right there. Right.
Yeah. This is one of those early examples where, which normally didn't happen, which is, you know, the public, just generic viewing audiences knew about all the stuff going on behind the scenes about, you know, director versus studio. And of course, people are going to back director over studio publicly just because it's an underdog story, right? Even Gillian in that interview said it wasn't fair. It wasn't a fair fight because I knew I'd have everyone on my side because I'm going against a faceless corporation, right?
Yeah.
And people hate those. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But, so Jeremy, are you ready to wrap up?
I am. This movie's great. A little gorier than I remembered it being. When he went into Jack's office and he's got, you know, his white jacket on, it's covered in blood.
Yeah.
You know, and the shit coming out of the casket, you know, with her friend is just bones and mush.
Yeah.
You know? That was gross. So I was like, oh, I had forgotten all about that.
Yeah. Oh, then of course Jack's death sequence, you know, of him getting shot in the head.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, man, the movie's great. It's such, you know, quintessential Gilliam. You know, I feel like this was around that time where he was really kind of finding his way, you know, because he had done Time Bandits before this, and you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
Yeah. So are you excited for the next one? The next one you haven't seen, right?
The next one I have not seen. So we're back to the original rules of the season. So everyone, part 2 of our dystopic trilogy is 12 Monkeys. I've heard of this movie for years. I know who's in it, Brad Pitt, and of course Bruce Willis. I know it involves time travel, which, if we haven't made that abundantly clear with our Predestination episode, I love time travel movies, especially when they're done well. And all I needed to know is that it was time travel, Bruce Willis, and Terry Gilliam. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah, and it's great. You know, Gilliam is really hit or miss for me. I mean, Monty Python stuff, obviously, that stuff is, I like that stuff. I didn't care for. There was one movie where I didn't like. Hold on, I'm gonna look at it right now. Tideland. I didn't like that.
I just recently
I
found out about that movie.
I didn't like. I didn't like The Fisher King. That wasn't for me.
Well, I haven't finished it, so.
I started watching the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, just because I knew Tom Waits was in it. And then once I got to Tom Waits, I go, okay, the rest of this movie I don't care for, but I like this. And I appreciate the changing the plot. You know, when Heath Ledger died, changing the plot to make it make sense that all these other actors were playing him, right? Mm-hmm. That I liked. I appreciate that. You know, that's sort of on-the-fly storytelling and on-the-fly creativity, but, you know, who fucking cares? I won't see Time Bandits. That just does not interest me at all. Jabberwocky, no way.
Well,
I may see Baron Munchausen. That I'm interested in.
Well, as I've told you, with Jabberwocky, think of it as if he took Monty Python serious, because that's what it's supposed to be. Even though, as I recently learned, it's supposed to be a satire on how people viewed the medieval times. Mm-hmm. And then it's crazy to me that you don't want to see Time Bandits, because Time Bandits was his his big commercial success movie. That's how he was able to get the pull to do Brazil. Yeah. Was Time Bandits. So that's interesting that you don't want to...
I don't know what to tell you.
But it's got John Cleese in it.
I know, I like John Cleese. You know what I mean?
But, I mean... and Baron Munchausen was good. I think you'd like that.
Okay. Okay. I am interested.
But anyway, but yeah, so next week, 12 Monkeys. I'm really excited. Did you ever see the show that they made?
No.
I knew they made a show.
Sci-Fi made it? Yeah, it was Sci-Fi original. I didn't care. Although, it might be good. I don't know. There's just some stuff where I just don't care. And it's just, whatever. You know what I mean? Usually I'm very skeptical with TV, either television continuations or television reboots of something that I really like in movie form. Of course, a wonderful example of it working flawlessly is Hannibal.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, that show is just top notch. I heard Dracula wasn't very good. NBC did that. It was NBC or CBS or Fox, somewhere like that. Who was that guy with the weird face? What is his name? It doesn't matter. Anyway, they tried to do that as a television show, and that didn't work. And I have other examples, I think. I heard the new Chucky show is very good, but I don't know. Not interested. No.
Well, good thing we're just going to talk about the movie. So.
Yeah, thank God. Because I didn't see it. So. But very excited for 12 Monkeys. And Zach, I hope you hung in there, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone. We hope you enjoyed Brazil, part 1 of our end of season series. And we will see you next week for part 2, 12 Monkeys.